Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the DuCross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. We are your boys. I'm Tristan DuCross. Along my side, as always, is the one and only Sean DuCross. Man, what a show do we have on top for everybody right now. So let me check it out. Right. Hit us up right here on TikTok. Hit that follow button. You know you want to. You know this is the new hotness right now. You dig it. You want to be a part of it every Thursday night with your boys, the DuCross Brothers. We cross that line. If you want some good whiskey, you got to get at Penelope. You just got it. Right, Sean?
It's one of my favorites that I've just grown very attached to.
We cracked open the weeded today. Here's cheers real quick. Cheers, Sean. Hit that. Oh, yeah. Ooh, that is smooth. So in the meantime, Sean, you can follow us on TikTok right here on this platform. Thank you, guys. You can follow us and hit us up on Instagram, the.sports.warriors. Follow us on X, the DuCross Bros. Show us some love. So you know the drill. Let's get this kicked off and going. Live goal, 100 roses. We got 100 roses going off at the beginning of the show, so let's run it if we can, and let's earn this. So tonight, Sean, we were asked to hit this topic, which is weird because you and I, we've been on this platform. This is our third show in 3 years, and we've been asked to talk on a topic. Did Derek Lewis just expose the UFC? Then we have Mariah May, who shows up on NXT without saying a word to the world. UFC 316 is just pure fire. So go ahead, push that follow, hit that subscribe button. If you're about real fight talk, this is where you ought to be. We ain't no fluff. We keep it 100. So the viral quote and the breakdown, how this reflects in the officiating and the fight strategy, the fan reactions, your takes, high engagement, every topic, guaranteed to stir the conversation. We got it right here. No name, no problem. Dramatic NXT entrance, AW, WWE. It doesn't matter. Crosses, wrestling, MMAs, boosts everything, right? And the followers. Goes left, goes right. All it does is come back together. So here we go, Sean. Do we dare to talk on the hottest topic? Or do we go through what is going on right now at the UFC 316 strategy?
We want to get the people hungry. We want to get the people feeling a certain way tonight. So, no, we want to keep the meat and potatoes for a little bit later.
I'm good with it.
So let's talk about the one that got the headlines right now. Let's talk about the fact that Derek Lewis admits to cheating.
This guy goes on MMA Junkie and says, I cheat. Add a little bit of extra gritty word. By any means necessary. They're not going to take a point as soon as you poke somebody in the eyes and just say, my bad, and keep it going. Bro, we have said that a countless amount of times that when we have been and around the ring for a while, Sean, it is no different when we see that some of these fighters is like, dude, that was blatant.
In my words to one of our guys that wanted us to touch on this topic, our boy Justin, he wanted us to touch on this topic. My simple thing was, you ain't cheating if you ain't trying.
Facts.
Is that the wrong analogy? Is that the wrong thing to say? For sure it is. Because it shouldn't be that way. But it is whatever edge you can get in this fight game. Yes, there are rules and regulations. Don't do this. Don't eye gouge. Don't eye poke. Don't grab gloves. Whatever it may be. But unfortunately, in this environment, The referee can't be there all the time, Tristan. He can't see a glove grab all the time. He can't see, is that an intentional eye poke or not? He has to go off of the whim of what happened. That's, again, Tristan, where it comes into play, where instant replay would be vital. And if this is not that caveat that says that, oh, there should be instant replay, I'm just saying.
My guy, one thing that you said right there, instant replay. I immediately try to go back and research and try to find out a fight that stood out to me that could have been an issue. And one of the fight references that I'm going to reference, right, is the fact that in 2015, he fought a guy named Ron Potts. He admitted intentionally low blow before finishing Potts by TKO. Admitting it back in 2015. And here we are 10 years later, and we acting all surprised.
I'm just surprised it took 10 years to admit this. It's one of those things like do you admit to steroids?
I mean, if it ain't...
I'm just saying,
right?
Like, you admitted 10 years later, it's like admitting that, oh, I took steroids to enhance my performance. Like, really? That's what we're doing? That's what we're looking to achieve here? I don't understand the thing. Like, do you want to continue your fighting career? Do you want to go further? Because to me, this just put a damper on your career by admitting that you cheated, and cheating goes on in the fight game.
At some point, Sean.
At some point, you have to use some logic. Is what I'm saying going to hurt me, or is it going to help me? He didn't think of the outcome or the repercussions he was going to encounter with these words of admitting to cheating.
My guy, Sean, at what point do we look at the UFC rulebook versus reality? Unified rules allow immediate point deductions for any intentional fouls. But you and I both know, being in and around this fight game, refs often choose to, hey, I'm going to warn you, do it again, I'm going to take a point. Do they not?
They generally err on the era of caution. Was it intentional or was it not intentional? Was it one of those things that could have been avoided or not could have been avoided? If they can't deem that in that moment, then they go ahead and go, hey, I think I saw something. Don't do it. That's what the referees generally aim on. And again, to go back to talking about questionability of refs, you can go ahead and look at the questionable knee that was in the Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz.
Sean, the eye poke heard around the world in the John Jones fight.
Volkanovski always grabbing gloves. So they're there if you dig deep enough to look through the vine of what has happened in fights. You could sit there and watch a fight and see it from a mile away, but in real time, in real context, in real moment, it's harder to identify what happens. So why, again, we hurt the refs rather than protecting the refs? We talked about this on a couple shows a couple weeks ago. We talked about protecting the refs. So protect the refs and put them in the ability of having instant replay, that if there is a such thing of intentional grabbing of gloves, hitting the guy below the belt, whatever you may be, that it's reviewable. If you can hold judges accountable for scoring inaccurately, then why can't you do that for referees? Why can't you do that for a fight? Why do we not hear more fighters challenging a card if there was an accidental eye poke or that could have that maybe have harmed their eye in a way that it hurt the furtherness of the fight.
Because, again, this is now where we get in the nitty-gritty part of everything, Sean. As we continue to kind of move through this issue, right? We're getting now fan and fighter reactions on this topic. Some fans are on the side of Lewis, calling him he's the most honest man with integrity. Some people look at him as the complete opposite now. Damaging of the sport, unsportsmanlike, breaking of the code. See where we're going with this now?
Okay. Let me touch on a key word that you just said, Tristan. Well, maybe two. So,
did I spark something?
As I'm thinking, so the code part, okay? Your code comment. Did he break the code? And then there was one other one that I forgot that you hit on because also it just triggered something. You want to talk to me about code? Honor among thieves? So it's what you don't say, what happens there. How is it any different if you go ahead and say this now? Because it's not going to change anything.
Right.
It's not going to change what the next fighter is going to do. It's not going to change if the fighter is going to choose to grab his gloves, accidentally hit somebody below the belt, accidentally knee somebody. It's not going to change what they do inside that octagon. It's not going to change what they do in that squared circle. Because at the end of the day, they're still going to do what they can get away with. So why do you care if it hurts the sport or if it's against the code? Like I just said two things here, Tristan. If you ain't cheating,
you ain't
trying. Honor among thieves. That
Sean Carpenter in the chat room said, I'll never forget the fake eye poke from Koscheck back in the day. Oh, 100%. He was notorious for that. I remember that all the time. It wasn't just one fight. It was all the time.
He was the king of the eye poke. What are you talking about? But see, nobody's talking about what he did back in that era.
And he was notorious for it.
So you see what I'm saying? These people are, again, being petty in what is actually being talked about and discussed.
Yep.
And it's one of those things that, like, look at it from both sides of the spectrum. Again, when steroid era happened in Major League Baseball, if you were quick to admit steroids, you were in the clear. But if you were quick to point it out like Jose Canseco, it was, how dare you? You are ruining the sport.
100%.
But again, it was, if you ain't cheating,
you ain't trying.
If you ain't trying.
Yep.
It was honor among thieves because half the league did it. So forgive and forget. Derek Lewis just let it out a little bit.
Yep.
But God forbid anybody shed some realism on what's going on in the sports world of mixed martial arts. Oops, my bad.
Right? So we're going to continue getting this conversation. It's going to become bigger as we know it. As we know it. It will reveal inconsistencies in officiating. It will continue to spark debates about whether refs should be penalized for fouls or more quickly to preserve fairness. All this stuff at one point or another, Sean, will start to happen whether you like it or not. It's going to happen. It really is. But that's kind of the way that I feel about what is happening in NXT. I knew this was going to happen.
I think everybody knew it was going to happen, Tristan.
Even though she posted on her social media, said, why don't you just worry about you, do you? And, well, I was just on vacation. Yeah, on vacation to sign with the competition? Okay. Mariah May, a.k.a. the Glamour, a.k.a. the belle of the ball is what I will call her.
But the question is she going to be Mariah May? And I asked that, Tristan, because when you look at Mariah May and how they presented her was very similar to how they presented Ricky Saints. They did not announce him as Ricky Starks. They just announced him with his swagger and his gimmick of, well, I'm here to start a revolution. Well, you did that with Mariah May, the Glamour. She was showcased as such. But here's my question.
We got to stop real quick because, when our chat starts asking us questions, we need to pivot real quick. Sean Carpenter says, what do you guys think about the current state of the UFC going somewhere besides ESPN? All I'm saying is, I swear to God, if they go to Netflix, biggest thing ever.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. There's only one logical choice. If you are TKO and you have your wrestling platform now on Netflix, yeah, Netflix is the next big thing. Considering that's where you were talking about Canelo versus Crawford competing is on Netflix. Netflix, I remember at one point, was like up here, and then it faded to down here.
Right.
Now it's seemingly going right back up in a higher trajectory with everything that's going on. So I think the final result is going to be them going to Netflix. And ESPN is going to have to pony up a lot more money than what anybody had probably ever thought of. The problem with that lies is that with that baggage comes with a higher grade rate for the ESPN Plus app. You're going to charge even a bigger premium. You already got boxing fights that are channeling like $80 a pay-per-view. You're going to get there easily with the UFC if you put that on ESPN Plus.
Facts.
But strategically, you have to think about it that if you stay on ESPN and you go to ESPN Plus, stop putting on pay-per-views, just put it on ESPN Plus.
Yep.
That way, then instead of raising the price of pay-per-views, any subscriber that is on ESPN Plus should be able to obtain the event much like Netflix. Fair?
Fair.
So to go back to wrestling, though, when you look at Mariah May and what she's doing right now, and her trajectory was going up, to tie into what we were just talking about. My problem is, and I sent it to you earlier today or yesterday, one of the two. Now the promo between Mariah May and Toni Storm, when they're sitting down in basically a white room, hits vastly different now.
Yes, it does.
About how Toni Storm looked at her and said that, basically, in a nutshell, you're going to be a somebody, but you're basically not going to reach the level that you've reached. You'll still be a star, but you're not going to be the star. And when I listened to that again, I was like, one of two things.
Did she know something that nobody else knew at that point?
But then, is that the reason why they subsequently killed her character? To write her off into the sunset.
The Hollywood ending was the perfect ending for Mariah May and Toni Storm's swan song. That was beautifully done, masterful piece. Couldn't ask for more. My issue with Mariah May going over there is that she's going to challenge JC for that title.
And you already know who's going to win it. But
Right.
That's where I hate the predictability of the WWE. Is that it's already written. It's already been said. But the problem that I have with Mariah May is, was she good in Stardom? Yes. Has she been a world champion everywhere she's been? Yes. But when you cultivate to the top as much as she did in AEW,
Yes.
and what Toni Storm did for her character and building her, she had arguably, you can ask any wrestling social media expert out there, whatever, they'll all agree with this sentiment. The best and highest feud, perhaps in all of wrestling outside of the bloodline.
Was that Toni Storm, Mariah May?
So when you have the best feud in all of wrestling and especially for women, where do you go? That's my question. Yeah, you said that WWE NXT has arguably the best women's division in all of professional wrestling. Okay. I'll slightly give it to you. Yeah, you know what? They put on probably better women wrestling matches than AEW, and women's is more prominent in NXT or WWE for that matter. I get it. But at the end of the line, and you look at what's in front of her, is JC Jane on the level of Toni Storm?
No.
Is Lola Vice on the level of Toni Storm?
No. Not yet.
Is Kaylani on the level of Toni Storm?
No.
Is Sol Ruka on the level of Toni Storm?
No.
So while they may have the best women's division in professional wrestling, nobody at her level in NXT will get her to the level she was at AEW.
Correct.
So then my next question would be, is she fast-tracked like Stephanie Valkyrie, like Jordan Grace, like Julia, where she's there to collect a paycheck in a day, if you will, and then she goes up to the main event? Because if she goes up to the main roster, then yeah, there may be opportunities to tell a story, to feud with somebody, but I don't think there's anybody that's going to be able to tell a story like Toni Storm and her did.
Because I truly think that story was Toni Storm's idea, Toni Storm's thoughts. That was her input. That was her driven storyline.
With probably the help of Mariah May.
Don't get me wrong. Why this matters to the WWE is, again, they took a rising star from AEW and drop him right into NXT.
Pretty much.
It shapes up the foundation a little bit of what is known as the NXT's women division. I mean, they already incorporated the Let's Effing Go promotion that they had that was on A&E. So they dropped in another woman from that profile and pushing her. So, again, we're to this point where they just take from AEW, and the fans praised her debut, calling it main event ready. Trending hashtag was Mariah May NXT. I'm a little bit worried that they're going to call her Mariah March.
But here's the thing, too. So you put Mariah May on NXT, but you're bringing LFG, you're bringing Evolve, you're bringing everybody else underneath the sun into NXT. We've already seen on the main roster, again, it's getting quite cluttered. A lot of personnel with limited amount of space.
Yes.
You're already doing that now. So you're talking about a lot of people coming up wanting to showcase what they got, that now you're looking across the bow, that now you're doing WWE Worlds Collide.
And she's not on that card.
She's not on that card, but you have, again, a plethora of talent that is going to be featured on this card. But again, you've got some guys that probably should be on the card that you're like, wait, what is going on?
Yes.
Where am I fitting in this moment? What am I doing in this moment? So you look at what's going on, right? At the Worlds Collide, WWE and AAA, right? TNA, WWE, AAA. The one thing that's interesting about AAA, and I don't think anybody's talking about this or caught this, So when they acquired AAA, right? The AAA World Heavyweight Champion was El Patron.
Yes.
Then it was announced that he was released. Then it was announced that he brought back. But the event that's coming up is this
Doesn't have
weekend.
the champion on it.
But it does. Because El Patron lost the World Heavyweight title
Of course he did.
to Vikingo. So he's the new champion going in against Chad Gable, a.k.a. El Grande Americano.
Wow.
So how ironic is it that you bought the promotion that the one guy is the world champion of, and then you release him and then bring him back allegedly, and they go, no. You're going to lose because you're going to take a chair shot, and Vikingo is going to become the next world champion.
See, that's where it's interesting. Because here we are, days away, and we are talking about where everybody kind of slots now, right? And how do they actually go up from there? This is going to be interesting from where we take it.
You look at that fight card and see what's going on. The fights are interesting at Worlds Collide,
Right.
because the next one is Ethan Page, Javon Evans, Ray Phoenix, and Laredo Kid.
I like it. I mean, I like the card. Don't get me wrong.
Bro, Ethan Page is lost. Everybody else flies and dances on that fight card, and you got Ethan Page. Ethan Page is going to go like, what the heck am I doing here?
I still think he's going to show out. He'll be just fine.
If he gimmicks it up, if he slows it down, that's about it.
But I mean, dude, this is WWE's global push right now, and I can't complain because as they continue to kind of, I don't know, with TikTok and the social media atmosphere that is going on right now, man, it is surely an interesting time because TKO is really going after the social media side, going after this global push. WWE is changing things, it seems like weekly, moving things around when they shouldn't be. So it doesn't surprise me that at the global push of the Worlds Collide, it's just not.
Come on, everybody, send us some roses.
Right?
Let's get to 100.
But WWE's cooking with the Worlds Collide, the Mariah May stuff going on. It's interesting. Women's division just got real dangerous. They also, if nobody's been really talking about it, Sean, is that, did you know that Evolution 2 is happening?
Yeah, it's one of those things I was like, okay.
Just kind of flew underneath the radar.
But it was announced. It just is marinating right now, I guess you could say.
So if you're not locked in on this Saturday, you're going to straight up miss it. WWE ain't playing.
But Evolution 2 isn't going down this Saturday.
Right.
We still got to wait for that. But what's going down this Saturday is Worlds Collide.
Mm-hmm.
But when Worlds Collide, we're going to talk about UFC 316 breakdown. I like the 316. Austin says, I just whooped your ass. You know?
Did they? But as you guys know, before we get into another segment, as you guys know, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to an episode of the DuCross Brothers, Crossing the Line, where we're doing something a little bit different, where the bourbon flows, and we're drinking Penelope bourbon whiskey. So we're doing something special. So thank you for them. So just a little bit of history about Penelope. It started in 2018 with Mike Palladini and his wife, Carrie. Found out that they were expecting a baby. They wanted to name him Penelope. That's how We got Penelope whiskey.
You're so corny.
Penelope bourbon.
You're so
Yes. Right here. We got your Penelope. So come, join us Thursday. Follow us on all of our social medias. You can follow us on TikTok. Just hit that follow button. Follow us.
Send us some roses.
Send us some roses.
Love.
Hit some, I'm still trying to figure this out. Tap your screen like 1,000 times.
Get us ranked higher.
Get us ranked higher. Show us up on For You page or whatever that's called. Throw us some gifts. Throw us some likes, hearts. You know the job. You've been around the block on TikTok. This is our third show on here. We're still trying to figure it out. So let's make sure that, Sean, we give it a toast.
I'm already out.
You can take a sip. You still have a little bit.
I got a little drop.
Yes, you got a little bit of drop, but this is to Penelope. Cheers. Delicious. That's all I got to say about that. But, man, so, Sean, your favorite part, right? UFC 316, Austin 316.
Says Sean O'Malley is going to beat Merab?
Is he?
That's one of those things that it could go either way because that's one of the stylistic matchups that make you go, because you got a striker versus a grappler. A premier specialist in Merab who loves to make fights awkward and uncomfortable.
Cage control and takedowns. O'Malley hates it.
And yet O'Malley has been working diligently on trying to keep himself off the cage.
Right.
Trying to make sure that he can
Again, that's where you want to be at.
Right. And get himself back up and figure it out.
Again, that's where you want to be at. You want to be able to make those adjustments.
See,
He's gone through a 13-week camp without any distractions.
Bro, he hasn't smoked any weed.
Like, that's crazy.
And he brought in Demetrius Johnson to help him out in this camp.
So, whoa.
Hold on. So, if that doesn't say that he's real in trying to prevent Merab from taking him down, I don't know what is.
Bro.
He took the goat in.
Hold up. Wait a minute. O'Malley, 13-week fight camp. No distractions. No cannabis. No social media? Yo, this guy is locked the F in.
Well, there was some social media video that I saw where basically he had a toy baby or something like that hugging him up against the wall as he was trying to fight off it. So there was a little bit.
But we're talking about a straight striker versus a grappler.
Striking versus takedowns.
We know this could go either way. It's first come, first serve. When you look at it, if you have Merab and he is able to dodge underneath that lanky sniper-like range that O'Malley has, I will go with Merab. But if O'Malley comes out and that jab is out there and he has that reach, it is over and done with for Merab, and I ain't even playing.
If he catches him with that right, he puts that right on his chin, yeah. We may be shocked at UFC 316, and we might see O'Malley getting his hand raised. You got to look at, but if anybody can weather a knockdown or shake off cobwebs quickly, it's going to be Merab. Because he's got endurance for days. He can go with the best. He can fight with the top. It's going to be an interesting fight card. One of the ones that in quite a while will be like, yeah, you know what's up. I'm interested in this fight. It's one of the few top fight cards that it piques my interest from the main event to the co-main event.
Do you know who can go from obscurity to top of the line, right back to where she once was?
I know exactly where you're going with this one.
Julia Pena versus Harrison.
Okay, am I the only one that at one point didn't see Julia Pena at the elite level for a while? And then all of a sudden, she spoke.
Her ascension?
Yeah, she spoke. She conducted herself in a meaning, a way of that gets people to talk about her, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
Now she's here competing against Harrison. Arguably one of the top female fighters since Ronda Rousey with the most height. And you're just trying to shrug her off like she's no big deal. It's going to be hard to dethrone somebody who's 18-1. Everywhere she's gone, she's won. She's a two-time gold medalist.
Harrison's 18-1. Does Julia Pena seriously know what she's getting herself into? At this point, Julia Pena is standing in front of her, the number one fear of her life, and that's Kayla Harrison. Because Harrison continues to view herself as this untouchable, this unbeatable juggernaut. She stands in front of you and says there ain't nobody that could beat her. Julia Pena, for the first time, stands in front of her and says that she can. That's the interesting tale, is that the confidence that Julia Pena has is wild.
And that's the thing. When you knock off Amanda Nunes, your confidence is through the roof. I want to be the one that stands here or sits here tonight and says, you know what? Kayla Harrison is going to lose to Julia Pena. And want to know why? Because on paper, the resume of Julia Pena, to me, is far greater than what Kayla Harrison has done. Her UFC victories, Harrison's, Verera, and Holm. Julia Pena is endless.
We're talking about Pena. This girl is the one that is always doubted since the beginning she has come into the fight game. This is a girl that thrives on brawls, getting grimy inside that cage. Harrison will want to try to dominate and set the expectations, would she not? So she's going to want to fight for top control. She'll want to try to end it quickly. But if Pena can keep this going and keep it standing and make it ugly, make it a dirty fight, take it into a phone booth, she might have a chance. Am I wrong?
That's the thing. That's what has me interested in UFC 316 is the fact that the co-main event and the main event can really go any other way, and you can't really knock it. It's got fight fans talking. It's got fight fans like you and I excited. Let's enjoy the chaos.
Where's the goosies? Right here? Goosies. I'm just saying, Sean, in a 5-round fight, if Julia Pena can make this a dirty fight, drag Kayla Harrison into deep waters, survive the onslaught, survive the early, as you said it, chaos, she has a fighter's chance, Sean. She's in it. She will be in this fight. But who wasn't in his last fight, who is now in a fight is Khalil Roundtree.
Khalil Roundtree.
I have such a unique relationship with this guy. We've met him. We've talked to him. Freaking amazing dude. But, man, his fight games sometimes are bipolar. Holy cow.
It's one of those things that, like, when Khalil Roundtree is on his Instagram, there's been numerous times I'd hit him up and talk to him. He remembers us from the first time we met him with our guy Josh Griggs. And he's like, bro, you guys have my number.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship because he goes out there and busts his butt.
And when you see his social media platforms and he going out of this world with some of his training clips, I think, like,
bro, did you see his latest Muay Thai?
I don't want to step inside that cage against that guy.
Did you see his latest Muay Thai one?
100%. When you kick the dude halfway across the ring?
Yeah, they were elbowing each other in the stomach in the midsection. Okay.
Let's just spar on an open mat, and we're going to just throw as hard as we can at each other and take it. Like, that is next level type crazy stuff.
But he's in another interesting fight as he fights Jamal Hill. So you look at this one, it's going to be one of those things that let's see how this goes. If he can return from his injury, who Hill is returning, and how well he recovers from that injury to take on a guy who is wanted to redeem himself from Alex Pereira, dismantling him the way he was.
Send us some gifts. Follow us. Show some love with the roses. We're trying to get to 100 roses. Let's get to 100 roses. Let's go.
So if he beats Hill, does this put him back in line for another fight against Alex Pereira?
No. We need one more.
Because he got beat so bad?
Against Alex Pereira, 100%.
Makes sense.
You get destroyed the way that happened. I don't think you immediately come back unless he makes an emphatic statement against Hill. If he comes in there, it's like 5-second, boom, bam, knockout, go. Stand in the middle of the cage, go, I want you, Alex Pereira. Cool, bet, got you. But if this goes the distance and he doesn't look like the monster that he needs to be to go back inside that cage against a world champion, I think we need to strongly think about it and pause.
You want to know how much we relatively know about Khalil Roundtree that I don't think a lot of people know? Here's food for thought. The potential of Khalil Roundtree has never really manifest. Because when we first met Roundtree was from the Anderson Silva camp.
Yes, he was.
He trained and busted his butt with Anderson Silva. Let that one marinate.
Mm-hmm.
And then look where he's at now. He's finally doing what he should have been achieving all along. But I guess it just comes at different times for certain fighters or certain people. Better late than never is the old saying.
Right.
So if he decisively knocks off Hill, I think you need to run it back one more time and not do the whole Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor situation where you don't run it back and you let it sit there. No, you immediately run it back because you don't know what John Jones wants.
But as we sit here, Hill's on the docket versus Khalil Roundtree. You're saying a win puts him back in title contention.
For sure.
I look at Hill as a scary guy because he's returning from injury. So I'm looking at his timing. I'm looking at his power, which could be factors against Khalil. A win over him, I don't think gets him back in the conversation. I think a decisive victory gets him back in that conversation. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what we need to look at. That's how we need to prioritize this fight. Kind of like how I wish that they would have prioritized this last fight. How do you put Patchy Mix's debut on the undercard against Bautista? Bellator champion, elite fighter, elite IQ, nasty IQ inside that cage. We spoke about him last week. This guy is top 3 in the bantamweight division.
It's going to be interesting, the fact that you got 2 world-class grapplers in this match. You didn't put a striker versus Patchy Mix.
No.
You put another grappler against Mix. You want to see gnarly transitions, rolls, quickly back up to your feet. Like, you're going to see it in this fight.
You could also see the possibility of quite a few of submission attempts out of these two. And that's crazy to even think about. We're talking about Mario Bautista versus Patchy Mix. It's going to be an insane fight.
Another fight on the undercard to watch out for is Bruno Silva versus Joshua Van.
The craziest amount of power that Silva has, that is straight knockout power. The only thing that is with Silva that I can kind of get behind, that I kind of feel for him, is that he's inconsistent at best. And then you look at Joshua Van, who is just ridiculously fast. So, again, power
versus speed.
speed. So, KO power.
Prospect versus veteran. Power versus speed. Prospect versus veteran.
This fight, though,
gonna be wild.
Could be wild and could probably steal the show for fight of the night.
It'll be interesting, for sure.
I expect full on a wild pace for these guys. Because just how fast Van is, you're going to literally have to run, get your track shoes on, and run. Because that's how that fight's going to go out.
And running is what the UFC continues to do. Did you just see the latest fighters to file an antitrust lawsuit against the UFC? And being Phil Davis and Cirkunov, I think is how you say it, are the latest two to
Cirkunov.
Cirkunov?
Misha Cirkunov.
To file an antitrust lawsuit against the UFC, and most notably Phil Davis citing that basically UFC is a monopoly.
And don't get me wrong, maybe people in the chat room or you can help me out here a little bit. Just so I'm clear. Didn't they just lose an antitrust lawsuit?
$375 million settlement with Cung Lee. Here's the kicker, Tristan. The guy that is representing Phil Davis, and say his name?
Misha Cirkunov.
Is the same guy that just won the Cung Lee lawsuit.
So aren't you scared now?
If you're the UFC... Are we settling for the same amount? Are we settling for the same amount? The 375. Like, if you just won that same lawsuit, you're not settling anything less than 375 mil.
And let's just put this out there so the fight fans understand this, Sean. Cirkunov's lawsuit, he's asking for over 70.
Sorry, it was 335 mil.
Okay. But Sean, Cirkunov is asking for over $75,000 in punitive damages.
Dude, That's easy money for a guy that just won 300 plus. Like, what?
And Davis is filing mirrors Cirkunov's structure, signaling a coordinated legal strategy. Context and precedent. You said it. Cung Lee fought 2010 to 2017. And he got awarded his. If these lawsuits continue to progress, UFC may have to force to reveal financial restructure help. They will have to continue to look at terms, add a legal defense team, as more fighters will probably take them to court.
There's more
the ripple effect that this could now have is top to bottom hurtful for the UFC and the parent company, TKO.
But that's the thing, Tristan, is like, this again is where a union would come in to help.
We've talked about the union.
I'm just going to keep throwing it out there. There's situations
Guys,
where a union
we got to
would
get a union in MMA. We have to.
Because
it has to happen.
This is what they're filing, okay? What they're going after is the UFC, the fighters. Where is it? The fighters allege that the UFC operates an unlawful monopoly over an elite MMA. The claim is as followed. They use exclusive contracts, threats of release, control over rankings to suppress fighter pay. If you had a union, you couldn't suppress the rankings. You couldn't hide the wages.
And again, when you're talking about a union, why this matters, folks. NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, NHL all have unions, correct?
For fair pay.
So athletes have a strong, when they're in unions, they negotiate. They can negotiate revenue splits, benefits, worker conditions. Being as an independent contractor without a union, they have no power.
They're basically representing themselves or going outside and finding outsourced help. Then you end up in antitrust lawsuits like this one with Phil Davis and your guy.
We are in this world where now we talk about health, well-being, and you cannot continue to neglect the fighter's health. We are seeing what it's looking like every day, from a BJ Penn to a Tony Ferguson to what happened with Hughes. And the list can go on and on and on and on, unfortunately. To negotiate base pay, to be able to have health wages, to have a thought about what if.
Or Tristan, a guidance for job placement, whether it be in coaching or somewhere in the event of what you're doing with mixed martial arts as an ambassador for crying out loud.
Health coverage is at the top of that list.
To be able to sit down and just talk to a therapist.
At some point, Sean, legal backing with the union would provide legal and financial backing for all fighters. That is number one. When are we going to start putting the health of fighters or the life after into the front?
When you settle
if
for
you're
this,
going to continue to say that this is a sport and a business, but it's a business for you. It's not a business for the fighters. You have a pigeonhole on that because the fighters want to make a business for themselves, but they can't do it in the UFC because it has to be their brand. You're independent contracts, so you basically sold your soul because of the three letters. Why is that okay to continue to sell your soul to 3 letters and you get nothing for it except for show up, show out, or else you're fired?
And that's the problem that we have, is if you're going to treat, if you're the UFC and you're going to treat this as a sport, then at some point, you need to treat it as a sport and let the fighters have a union to help support them financially, physically, and mentally.
We need to change the power dynamic. The lawsuits are evidence that a deeper systematic issue in MMA is developing. Whether you like it or not, it is now there and it's being brought to the forefront. If you want to turn a blind eye to it, cool, be about it. But it's now right there in front of you. There are deeper issues in the world. And a union could balance the scales and could give the fighters a long-term career security. Do you not understand what that means to the fighters?
When you've got nothing left to lose, but you have everything to gain. Phil Davis has nothing left to lose. He's not in the UFC. He's over the PFL.
And he's doing just fine away from that.
So, if you're the UFC, how many more times are you going to pay these lawsuits before you think about the financial hardship? It may play down the road. It may not hurt you now. It may not hurt you in the next year or 2 years. It may hurt you 5, 10 years down the road. At some point, when do you start admitting that this is a sport and letting the fighters do something for themselves to make sure they have long-term support?
I just want to talk about, before we finish off real quick, before we round out tonight, Meat Rocket in the chat room says Wild Turkey 101 is better. It's not bad. I'm just a fan right now of Penelope, and I can't go wrong with Penelope. Penelope weeded. We cracked that sucker open tonight. Chef's kiss. If you haven't tried it weeded, you need to. If you haven't even tried Penelope, you should. But man, yeah, dude, we really need to start pushing this envelope a little bit more. But Sean, we got 2 minutes left in this show. Thank you to everybody that tuned into us. Too bad we didn't reach our goal of 100 roses. That kind of sucked. We usually actually hit all of our roses, but
not tonight, apparently.
Not tonight, apparently. I don't know what I did differently that I didn't get roses, but. So, again, guys, thank you guys for tuning into us. We are here every Thursday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, going live right here on TikTok, trying this platform out. I tip my hat to everybody that's tuned into us. This is making it pretty damn cool to actually be a part of on TikTok Live. Not going to lie, pretty cool, pretty cool. So, again, if you guys have any questions, you can hit us up. Follow us on our TikTok.
Go subscribe to our YouTube page, the.sports.warriors, or the DuCross Brothers. You can find us over there.
Yeah, just enjoy talking combat sports. If you want real opinions, real fight talk, real talk that matters, this is probably going to be your show. It's something vastly different. You ain't going to get cookie cutter comments from pretty much us on any given base. So join us every Thursday right here on TikTok, on YouTube, on any of your social media platforms. You can find us. I'm Tristan DuCross. That is whoa. That is Sean DuCross. I'm Tristan DuCross. We cross that line every Thursday. Thank you guys for tuning in to us. Until next time, we are out.